Hello, welcome back to the Instech podcast. Zoya podcast producer here. Our guest this week, Mia Platform, has been in the news quite a lot recently. If you're an avid reader of our newsletter, you would have caught that Mia Platform, alongside Accenture, partnered with Lloyds to release their Summary of Coverage service, providing local policy information to clients across approximately 80 territories. Likewise, Mia partnered with Solos Consulting at the end of January. What does Mia do? Mia is at the forefront of using AI and machine learning to extract data from insurance submissions, claims, and other key documents to automate workflows and eliminate inefficiencies. Joining Robin this week is Graham Asquith, UK Managing Director at Mia. They dive into how Mia is tackling one of the biggest challenges in insurance, turning unstructured data into actionable insights. Now let's dive into the conversation.
On this week's Instech podcast, I'm joined by Graham Asquith, who's the UK Managing Director of Mia Platform. Graham, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Robin. Lovely to be here.
Tell us what Mia Platform, but I'm going to call it Mia because it's easier. What does Mia do?
So Mia uses artificial intelligence, machine learning to read insurance documents and to extract data from those insurance documents, whether they're submissions or claims or whatever, and then send that extracted data wherever it needs to go to. So whether that's an underwriting workbench or a claims system, etc. So automating underwriting processes, automating claims processes.
I don't think there's a hotter theme in the UK specialty market right now. So someone had the bright idea of forming this company, probably just about the right time. Tell us the story behind the founding of Mia.
Yeah, well, I can't take any credit for that, Robin, as you know. So the business was founded by a guy called Martin Henley, who at the time was Group CIO of XL Catlin. So this is about 2021. So Martin and a team of career insurance CIOs, CUOs, COOs had an idea, had a vision, bringing together deep underwriting and operations expertise with world-class AI talent. They could help the industry to kind of solve really complex industry-wide use cases that individual companies couldn't really solve themselves at a reasonable cost and in a reasonable time frame. So that was kind of the genesis of it. And key tenet of the business, which persists to this day, is that the business had to be self-sufficient, financially self-sufficient, not dependent on external investment and chasing investment cycles like many of the newer sort of tech companies out there. And the reason for that was, as ex-insurance execs, Martin and the team had seen a lot of startups come and go, and it was very important that our customers had confidence that we're in it for the long haul, and that tenet remains to this day.
You've been there 18 months. What were you doing before?
So I spent my entire career in the insurance industry, Robin, different guises, first 10 years at Aviva as sort of underwriting operations, leadership roles. 15 years in the consulting world at PwC, IBM, Accenture, always consulting back into the insurance industry. And then 2018, I joined an AI startup called Merttens. And that's really where I kind of developed this passion for applying modern tech to insurance. That business was very successful. We sold it to Accenture in 2020. And that's how I got to know Mia, through Mia's partnership with Accenture. And I was really excited by what Mia were all about, that vision that I just described to you, their kind of uniqueness, and how much traction they were getting in the market. And I was keen to get back into that startup world. So I joined the business 18 months or so ago to lead the UK.
And how's it going? How many people have you got these days? Give us some idea of size. I know you're picking up customers at an impressive rate.
We've about 130 people in the team. We're growing quickly, as you say. The leadership team and the advisor board are sort of global. We've got sales and client delivery teams in North America, in UK and Europe, and our engineering team is in India. I think, what's one of the things that's kind of important and perhaps a little bit different about us is that, our whole leadership team, advisory board, sales team, everybody, they're all ex-insurance people, all insurance industry lifers, right? That sort of deep industry expertise is extremely important to us. Our CTO, I knew from my days at IBM. He's an ex-IBM CTO, multiple patent holder. I think he was employee number one, actually. And, he's sort of handpicked a technology team, built that out in India. Into being one of the best in the world now. So about 130 people in total globally, Robin.
But I look at that intelligent document processing, extraction, intelligence space, and I think to myself, it's pretty crowded, but it's I can't think of any other area where there is more opportunity. Give us your perspective on where you think the opportunity lies and what it is that you're doing in order to get the most from that opportunity.
Let me just give you a bit of a view on that crowded space, right? Because it is extremely crowded. And I do sometimes wonder how on earth kind of the industry makes sense of it all. I mean, I think there are sort of three broad approaches to this document extraction problem. You see some insurers trying to build their own solutions, using sort of open source LLMs, etc. I think most, if not all, have concluded that that's a, very expensive and time consuming approach. There are almost literally hundreds of generic intelligent document processing solutions out there, cross-industry solutions. They're not bad, but they're not trained on insurance data by and large, so they take a long time to get working to sufficient levels of accuracy. And then you see a kind of a small handful, at least at the moment, of what I would sort of call insurance vertical solutions, right? So these are solutions that work straight away. They're trained on insurance industry use cases and data, and that being trained by insurance experts. So they're absolutely laser focused on the insurance use cases. And I think over the last 18 months or so, you really seen these insurance verticals start to dominate, and that's because of the performance of this type of solution, the accuracy with which they can extract data, the speed they can do that, etc. The total cost of ownership, the speed to implement, the speed to value is just far superior than other approaches, and that's why they're starting to dominate. And we're obviously in this third category. MIA is in this third category. I mean, we would say that we're one of the leaders, if not the leader, in this category. As one of our clients said to me recently, you guys have really sort of cracked the code on insurance document ingestion, and there's clearly kind of lots of directions that we can take from here, having solved that foundational kind of use case, if you like.
No, that's helpful. I do think the insurance industry likes to be sold to by their own people. It's become clear to me that there's a benefit to having deep insurance knowledge if you really want to make a success in this space. So having established that, where are the opportunities? I mean, where are you going to point your guns?
I mean, I'm not going to give everything away. I think the first thing to say is there is a huge amount of opportunity left in pure insurance document ingestion space. Yes, there's a lot of noise around this. We've made a lot of customer announcements. Others are winning customers as well. But honestly, we've probably got 10, 15% penetration, right? So there's a global insurance industry out there that hasn't yet implemented a solution to this foundational use case, right? We're not moving away from that sort of core market as we were. We're going hard after deploying MIA into this use case across the industry. I mean, we're talking a lot about document ingestion here, Robin, but document ingestion is it's the start of a process. I mean, it started, most insurance business processes start with some sort of document needing to be sort of unpacked, data taken out of it, and then processed. If you think about pre-bind underwriting, what happens after risk data has been extracted from a submission document is, so clearance checks are made, the data is validated, might do a sanctions check, etc. Often that data, that raw submission data is then enhanced with third-party data sets. We might add, geocodes, for example, to addresses in property schedules. There's then decisions to be made around what to do with the submission. Do we want to quote it or not? Is it an appetite or not? Is it priority? Which underwrite work queue to put it in? So triage activities. All of that can be automated. All of that is automated. All of that is within our solution. If you think about pre-bind underwriting, we're focused here on using AI to extract data from documents, which is the really hard problem to solve. But once you've solved that problem and solved it well, automating downstream processes in pre-bind underwriting is entirely possible and relatively straightforward. Now, go beyond pre-bind, Robin. Think about post-bind. Think about, policy servicing, cancellations, midterm adjustments, premium adjustment, whatever it might be. These requests almost always start with an email and a document, right? And an instruction. So again, these post-bind processes require data to be extracted from documents to then trigger automated business processes, right? So we can go much further downstream in terms of underwriting. We haven't talked about claims. Claims processes all start with emails and FNOL forms and accident reports, police reports, etc., all of which need data extracted from them to set up a claim, to do initial coverage checking, etc. We do a lot of work in the claims space. So I think the bigger picture here is that there are large parts of underwriting and claims and other business processes that can be significantly automated. But really the key to unlocking a lot of that automation is having, a solution that works to nigh on 100% accuracy when it comes to, ingesting documents that trigger those processes.
I sort of see it like there's three bits to it. There's the ingestion bit, like take my document and give me something that is ready for the next stage.
Yeah.
To that point, you could start to drive automation. Once you start using the word automation in the insurance industry, everyone starts to panic. But we don't mean replacing people. But there's huge levels of efficiency by almost like semi-automation, like doing simple tasks for people. And then is there a third bit that feeds off that, which is, like I call intelligence, starting to make decisions for you or start to point you in the right direction. It seems to me that quite a lot of people have got to the ingestion stage, but the real benefits come in the automation and the intelligence stage. Is that fair?
Automating the extraction of data from documents and inserting it into systems does save a lot of time, does save a lot of money, right? Because you're sort of replacing a lot of human effort, right? So the efficiency part of the business case is pretty compelling, but the far more compelling part of the business case, more exciting part of the business case, is what it does to the underwriting function, right? And it does a couple of things, Robin. I think the first thing it does is massively increases underwriter productivity. Even in large firms where they've got big ops teams or possibly an outsourced service, underwriters are still doing a lot of keying in or checking data that's being keyed in, etc. So underwriters are getting a lot of time back. And how can they, what can they do with that time? Well, they can spend it in the market, can't they? Driving growth through relationships, GWP, etc. I think the other part of that is the speed advantage. So, in today's market, more so than ever, speed to indicate, speed to quote is a real differentiator. Finding the best business, quoting it most quickly. How do you do that if you've got a human SLA of 48 hours to actually extract the data and put it in front of the underwriter? With Mia and solutions like Mia, that's happening in minutes, right? So you get, submission in the front door, extracted data, prioritized, etc., in front of the underwriter in minutes. Underwriter can make a decision. It's increasing speed to quote, making brokers happier. That all has a knock-on impact in terms of conversion ratios. And then to your point, Robin, we're capturing a lot more data from documents, and we're talking a lot about underwriting here. We'll continue to do so, but it all applies to claims and other processes as well. But we're capturing much more data. One of our clients told me they're capturing 50% more data from submissions than they were previously. And what they're focused on now is really, storing, understanding, manipulating that additional data they're capturing from submissions to make better risk decisions, better pricing decisions. So yes, I think what you're sort of saying, and I agree, although I'm putting words in your mouth, is ingestion is sort of becoming a kind of a table stakes capability to enable downstream automation and better underwriting, productivity, all the kind of stuff, but possibly also becoming a bit of a commodity. The market is moving quickly. I think we're still a step ahead, right? But, I'm not complacent. And the requirement is to solve the ingestion problem as quickly as possible and then get on to unlocking all of this additional business benefit through downstream automation and better underwriting intelligence.
You said it far more articulately than me. Thank you. So you don't just do all that with a bunch of old legacy tech. Tell me a little bit about the tech that underpins the platform and provides the solution.
I thought you might ask me this. It's a secret. Even if I was inclined to answer that question directly, it is actually quite difficult to explain. It is a combination of open source large language models and proprietary Mia models working together, lots of them, interoperating, sitting on top of a very large proprietary insurance data model, right? So you've got your brain, which is, the language models, and you've got your experience, if you like, which is kind of the data model. And that's essentially the solution. I mean, like massive simplification. But what we've done is we've trained that brain on literally tens of millions of insurance documents. We did a lot of training before we even came to market. We've done an awful lot of training since. And that training's been done by career insurers. So, we train the model, we get an output, we look at that output, is it right, is it wrong? Well, we got, experts, doing that assessment. And we're at the point now, and others are catching up, and where out of the box extraction accuracy is unbelievably high, extremely high, like, mid to high 90% high, right? And what that means is that the speed to value, speed to benefit for people who use Mia platform is instant. You implement Mia platform, you start pushing data and documents through Mia platform, you're getting output that is almost immediately more accurate than you were getting when you had humans doing that same work. And it's happening almost instantly. So just to finish the point, so, it's a set of language models, insurance database, trained on tens of millions of documents, all built in-house, I should add, entirely proprietary platform solution, all built in-house. It's SaaS, completely secure, infinitely scalable.
And then you talked a little bit there about speed to value, how you make the case. You've been doing this for a while now. Are there metrics you use when you go out and sell this? You've been able to collect from existing customers some sense of how quickly they've got value and the value that they've got. Can you share some of that with us?
I often get asked this question, and it is quite hard to answer truthfully because the extent of business benefit depends, first of all, on what is the current operating model and cost base. And secondly, how quickly do they go? If you've got a very heavily manual operating model and, the customer goes really quickly, well, the business benefits, particularly around efficiency, can be absolutely enormous. So the way I will answer it is talk about an actual customer business case. I mean, so this is a medium-sized carrier, fairly representative of an average customer. And interestingly, their business case was largely predicated on GWP growth. Not so much efficiency, but GWP growth, right? Because they happened to have outsourced their operations, they were pretty efficient already. And they reckoned that they could increase underwriting productivity by about 50%, right? So taking away all the manual kind of work and checking and whatnot would give underwriters 50% of their time back. They reckoned that would enable about a 25% increase in GWP just by spending more time in the market, getting back to brokers more quickly, improving those relationships, seeing the best business more quickly. And they also estimated that by using the data they were capturing more intelligently, so the better and more voluminous risk data that they were capturing more intelligently, they reckon they could push their underwriting result up by as much as 1%. Which obviously sounds small, but is absolutely massive. So the business case is two things. It's growth and it's efficiency.
I think it's really interesting analysis. People concentrate on the cost savings in this industry far too much. They don't concentrate enough on the growth that you can achieve with that extra time, I always think. You mentioned clients. Are you free to name any?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite fortunate, actually. The vast majority of our customers are happy for us to name them and actually, provide references for us as well. So, for example, global carriers, right? Axis, Markel, 2 or 3 other top 10 US carriers, that I can't name. Global reinsurers, so Swiss Re is public domain, SCOR, UK, London market, managing agents, so IQUW, we announced end of last year, I think it was, Mosaic. So yeah, carriers, reinsurers, managing agents, but also MGAs. And so, the beauty about our solution and actually our commercial model is it kind of works at all levels, right? So Rising Edge and Aquinex, PIB were some of our earliest customers, but we did a deal with your friend and mine, Mr. Elliott, over at Crooks Underwriting recently. A very exciting partnership then with Crooks. I'm very keen to see what the future holds for Crooks. But anyway, the point is that we're deployed globally. We deployed, at all levels of scale. Another type of customers, Robin, which you'll hear a lot more about from us going forwards is, not so much end customers, but kind of existing service providers who need ingestion as part of their offering. And so just by way of example, our latest announcement, I think it was early this week or could have been last week, Lloyd's London are using Mia in a new market service that they've just launched. It's a multinational service. And Mia is the AI behind that, right? So, that's for managing agents. There's 60, 70 managing agents, right? So whichever managing agents use Lloyd's new multinational service, they're using Mia platform. And, that's a great way for us to get scale. So yeah, a real mix.
I think that last category, not so much Lloyd's, but that selling the products like yours to tech-enabled services businesses, whether they be third-party administrators for claims or it's going to be a hot area in the next year or two. That brings me neatly to partnerships. You've given yourself a lot of work there. Do you use third parties to help you with the implementation? What's your sort of overall strategy when it comes to partners?
It's very simple to set the system up. The whole process just takes a couple of weeks. The client just basically tells the machine what data it wants extracted, how it needs to be conformed or enhanced, and where it needs to be sent. And then, we do the configuration really, really quickly. Very easy to integrate. We're API enabled. We sit in the cloud, totally secure, etc. Right? So an implementation of Mia platform, even integrated with customer systems, is designed to be extremely quick and easy. But quite often, we find that Mia is part of a wider transformation program, in which case it's very helpful to have tie-ups with some of the big SIs and, public domain. We've got a long-standing partnership with Accenture, which is just going from strength to strength. Accenture were part of the Lloyd's deal I mentioned. And the most recent one we've announced is Solus. Solus is a great company, and we're already collaborating on a couple of opportunities with Solus.
I'm looking ahead. I mean, I always do this. I go, well, this is now, but what are the big opportunities? I'm always sort of, what does the future look like? And that's always been the problem. So I've never made any money. I should have just stuck with where we are now. But it does seem to me that you talked about commoditization earlier, there's a sort of ingestion. But if you're looking ahead, do you see fundamental changes in the way insurance is done as AI gets, and the sort of capabilities that you provide start to manifest their potential?
I do. It's a dangerous game. Crystal ball gazing, you end up hostage to fortune. Someone will trot this podcast out in 3 years and I'll be completely wrong. But and we've touched on a couple of things already, Robin, right? So I think underwriting is changing, right? What it takes to compete, what it takes to win in underwriting, I think is already changing. And we've talked around operations and automation and, significant opportunity to automate a lot more back office type functions, sitting on top of ingestion. The thing that we haven't really talked about is automated document ingestion really sort of powers digital trading, right? It enables, the ability to transact digitally. And I think this is quite interesting. So there was a report, I'm not taking any credit for this, right? There's a report that came out before Christmas. I think it was commissioned by the LMA and done by Oxbow. It's got a lot of profile in the market. It's called The Growth of Enhanced Underwriting. And the reason that you need to read it is because what they did is Oxbow interviewed, I think, 80 insurers, I'm not sure, carriers, I'm not sure who they were, can't remember. So this is the market's answer to your question, right? And what they said is that, so the 4 new underwriting and distribution models that emerged from that series of interviews that are likely to emerge over the next few years. So things like, augmented underwriting, algorithmic underwriting, where sort of risk decision and processing are fully automated. There were a couple more as well. And the report itself makes the point, and I agree, that all of these new models rely on automated submission ingestion. Like, you can't move to algorithmic underwriting if you've got a team of people at the front end having to do the data extraction and, the matching of risks to capacity, all the rest of it. Automated means end to end. So I think the short answer to your question is, I agree with the LMA's conclusions around what those new underwriting distribution models are going to look like, and the fact that they say that they all rely on automated submission ingestion. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how this sort of plays out. I mean, I think we're going to see an acceleration in digital trading. I've seen it already. I'm seeing platforms investing in creating capabilities to ingest and process data automatically. Graham won't mind me saying that's exactly what Crooks are doing with their proposition, and basically making it super easy for brokers to sort of drag and drop submissions into their platform and trade electronically. And I think the final point I'd make, and we're seeing this already, is I think we'll start to see a flurry of new sort of insurtechs appearing on the scene, sort of positioning in these, to capitalize in these sort of new distribution models that the LMA are talking about. And there's one I've been looking at called Neuron. It's Willis Towers Watson business. And what they're looking to do is to automate. I mean, it's basically, algo underwriting. So they're automating the matching of risk with capacity. And if you want to automate that process, the first thing you need to do is to be able to read submissions, extract the data so that you can match it with that capacity. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think there's a lot of short-term value. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, short-term value in just automating existing manual processes, then going downstream in terms of underwriting, automation, pre and post bind and claims. But I think we'll quickly start to see the structure of the industry changing, right? Distribution in particular, more digital trading, as it just becomes commodity, and everybody can automatically extract and structure data from unstructured sources.
Just in time for me to end my career. What you've just articulated is exactly what I had in mind in the year 2000. 25 years ahead of my time. Look, also, I'm just going to take this opportunity to shamelessly plug the fact that Instech is going to do an event on the 23rd of April with the LMA on that enhanced underwriting report. I thought the report was first class. There is a lot to unpack from it. A lot of vendors with interesting propositions to bring. We're going to explore that space with the writers of the report, and I can't wait. In the light of all that, which I thought was excellent analysis, what does Mia do next?
I'm going to plead the fifth on this. I think I've given you quite a lot of clues in my previous answers. I think if you listen to what I've said, you'll get the gist of where we're headed. What I would say is we've got some really exciting plans. We built a market-leading global business in just over 3 years without any funding. We've really only just got started. We've cracked the code on ingestion. We know what the adjacent use cases look like. I think we're sitting on an incredible opportunity. Watch this space, Robin.
I will. I hope you will have listened to enough Instech podcasts to know that we normally round them off by asking this question, which is, what's the final thought you would like to leave the listeners with, the one thing you'd like them to take away?
I think there's so much noise in the market around AI. As I mentioned earlier, I think it must be sometimes difficult to know where to start, right, if you're an insurer. And I think my takeaway message will be that a good approach, solid approach, is to focus on applications of AI that are going to drive long-term competitive advantage. And I think AI document ingestion, for all the reasons we talked about, is perhaps the most current topical example of precisely that type of application. And I think it's a sort of a table stakes capability. Now, you just can't not have it if you want to do, drive all that automation and take advantage of those new business models that I mentioned. And the good news, Robin, for the industry is you don't need to spend months and years trying to build something. Just implement a solution like Mia that works out of the box and get on with running your business.
Nice way to end it. I've been trying to get you on this podcast. I've been trying to get Mia to talk about itself a little bit more. I finally managed it. That was excellent to talk to.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's fun.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the support that Mia gives us, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Likewise.
Well, if you've made it this far, then I'm pretty sure you found that as interesting as I did. If you haven't already heard, Exponential Risk London is a new 2-day conference hosted by Instech, dedicated to addressing the evolving needs of the global catastrophe and climate modelling community. Tickets are now on sale, and hopefully we'll see you in March. That's all from us this week. Goodbye.